Ivo Daalder is president of the Chicago Council on Global Affairs and also served as U.S. ambassador to NATO. And Joseph Cirincione is an expert on nuclear policy, national security, of course, member of the Council on Foreign Relations, former advisor at the State Department. So, Joe Cirincione, the IAEA inspectors, two of whom are now semi-permanently left there in the plant after the inspection last week, finally, said recently they're very worried about the integrity of the plant. What should people know about the risks right now?
The risks are high. As you say, Andrea, it's extraordinarily dangerous. We're hanging by a thread, and one of those threads was just cut. They've been cut off from the main Ukrainian power grid for a couple of days now. The Russians have shelled methodically the 4 power lines that were going into the plant, cutting them off one by one. There was a local power line going to a local thermal plant, and that has now been cut off. According to the Ukrainian Minister of Energy in a statement today, as soon as the IAEA inspectors left, leaving 2 of their colleagues behind, the Russians shelled that remaining line. A fire broke out. They had to cut it off. Right now, the only electricity in the plant is being provided by that one lone reactor that apparently is operating at low power mode to fuel the pumps that keep the reactor cool. If that should fail, and if the backup generators, which we don't know what kind of condition they're in, should also fail, then you're looking at a meltdown situation where the fuel rods heat up, form a molten core, burst through the reactor vessel, burst through the containment field, and we get a Fukushima-type nuclear disaster. That is the worst-case scenario right now.
And, Ivo, from my previous reporting on this very plant, their containment facilities are not as good as other more modern European containment facilities and the American facilities. They just never had that kind of possible, or they never had the kind of safety procedures that are present elsewhere in Europe.
That's exactly right. This is better than Chernobyl, which had no containment.
Right.
So we're not looking at a Chernobyl-level disaster here, but still quite serious, one that could spread radioactivity through hundreds or tens of thousands, even, square kilometers of Ukraine, Europe, and possibly Russia itself.
Ivo, the UN Security Council, at Russia's request, I guess they're trying to put everyone else on the defensive and go on offense, is going to meet tomorrow on this. What can we expect? The international inspectors, they came out and gave a very troubling report on Friday night after inspecting and finally getting in. Fortunately, the reactors were still operating, but those operators are operating under guard, and their conditions are, at best, really very, very difficult.
Yeah, Andrea, I think we need to be very clear about what we're facing here. This is not just some possible accident that may be happening in the middle of the war. This is part of a very deliberate Russian strategy. It's the Russians who are shelling the plant. It is not the Ukrainians. They're doing it in a very deliberate fashion, as Joe said, to cut off power supply to these plants. They ultimately want to take control of the plant, not only physically, but the electricity that gets produced, and make sure it is not being sent to the rest of Ukraine, but only to the parts that are now occupied by Ukraine. And it's a very deliberate Russian strategy to try to blame the other side for something it's doing itself. It's been doing this for 7 months in Ukraine and for many years when it comes to the West. We need to be clear, and we hope that in the UN Security Council we'll have a unanimous sentiment that what the Russians are doing is completely and totally unacceptable. It's the first time that we have a war in which a major nuclear power plant, now 6 in fact, are in the middle of the battlefield. We've never had that before, but it is part of a very deliberate Russian strategy to try to force the international community to sort of end the war or come in order to make sure that the Russians get what they want, which is as much control of Ukrainian territory, if not all of Ukraine, and using threats and now real fundamental nuclear dangers to get their way. It's a very dangerous game they're playing.
And Ivo, I want to ask you also about John Sullivan, about our U.S. ambassador in Russia. They announced yesterday he's stepping down. He's been an extraordinary public servant. He was originally sent there by Donald Trump. He's worked for decades in different roles in government, but he was sent there by Donald Trump as the ambassador and has certainly since the war and the run-up to the war been operating under terrible circumstances, as I understand it. Very short-staffed. The local staff, Russians were withdrawn from the embassy, didn't even have a driver, and is handling all of this and has been really heroically, and as well as all the issues over, the Griner case and other cases, and is now stepping down. So we're left without an ambassador in Moscow.
Yeah, and I don't know the particulars of the situation that led him to make this decision, but as you said, he has served extraordinarily in the most difficult of possible times when the Russians have really shut down normal living for foreign diplomats, and particularly American diplomats, in the midst of this war. Not only is he extraordinary, he's probably the only person that I can think of who was a political appointee in the Trump administration and was asked to stay on by President Biden. He's done extraordinary work, and we should be thankful for everything he's done.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Ivo Daalder, Joe Cirincione, thanks to both of you on the very, very, critical situation in Ukraine.